Hello, everybody. Welcome to Quantum Catechesis. I'm Father Joe Krupp, and you are not. And I'm excited to be back. Wednesdays are always awesome for me because we've been away for so long, and now I get to see you again. Or, more important, you get to see me, the moneymaker. Excited today. Tons and tons and tons going on. I don't even know how much content we're going to be able to watch. Try another way of going live during your broadcast. Facebook is filling this with like instructions now. Have you noticed this? Like, it's like, do you want to? No. Are you sure you don't? Yes. I'm so happy to see you guys. I don't know how many of you got to see last Friday's show, but that was one of my favorites. I'll be honest, I have always longed to go to Our Lady in Champion, Wisconsin. And I was so blessed to go there and to carry your petitions with me. I'm going to talk about it a little bit. But first, I got a couple other things to do. I want to tell you what's going on this week. What is tomorrow? Tomorrow is Thursday. Isn't that helpful?
Yes.
Thursday is Guess Who, and our guest is Ann Kida. Now, Ann Kida is the Director of Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Services at the YMCA of Greater Flint. And there is so much about her that's extraordinary, but perhaps none more extraordinary than this. She's married to Brian. And Brian, I don't want to say is pure evil, because he's not pure. But just kidding. Brian's my boy. Brian was our business manager here before his brief incarceration, and I'm just kidding. He was our business manager here, and I got to tell you, there are people who serve the church in a million ways, a million different people, and it's always extraordinary. But most of you listening are sane and rational. So what you don't know is that if people working for the church encounter a lot of people who are not those two qualities, or at least not defined by them. And Brian was kind of given an awful financial mess to clean up. And he took so much abuse some days. But my God, he did it. And our parish is functioning well on a lot of it's because of his hard work. And I'm so grateful for him. And he made a lot more sense to me when I met his beautiful wife. You can see what happens when two extraordinary people get married. At least that's what my wife says. So that's tomorrow. Ann Kida will be here. And then on Friday, we're going to be live from, I kid you not, the Elga Credit Union, where I'll be going to apply for a loan. No, I won't. Elga Credit Union is a Catholic credit union here in Flint, and I think in other places too, or no? Yes. It's a boot, and we're going to be there live. They've got groovy buildings. That's one thing I've always noticed about them. They've got really groovy. Have you been inside an Elga? No. Good stuff. Good stuff. So that's this week. For today, here's our checklist. Are you guys ready? Because this is a checklist. We're going to be talking about Our Lady of the Rosary, which is today's feast day. Just a real quick thing there. I'll talk to you about our meeting with Bishop Earl last week. The priests all met with Uncle Earl, and it was all to talk about how are we going to meet the challenges of the future. And then, let me see, after that, I'm going to talk to you about the pilgrimage. And then we're going to talk about heaven. We're going to wrap up heaven, our discussion on heaven. And then we're going to start getting into the second coming of Jesus. I will tell you precisely when it's going to be. Don't tell anyone, please. Jesus told me, but he was like, don't tell. I'm like, you can count on me. But he can't. So, with that in mind, what is today's feast, Our Lady of the Rosary? Well, for those of you who are a bit older, you may remember this day as Our Lady of Victory. But we changed it to Our Lady of the Rosary, and I'm not entirely clear why. I assume it has something to do with political correctness. But what is it? What are we celebrating? Well, if you go back 400 or 500 years ago, I always mess this up. The 1600s is the 17th century. So if you go back to the 17th century, Europe was in a kind of chaos, as was fairly to partly cloudy normal back then. But what was going on is this: the new Protestant thing broke off with the Roman Church, and now there were two competing sects in Christianity in Europe, and neither side was that pleased with each other. And some kings sided with Luther, some kings sided with the Pope, and as a result, Europe which was already a bit fractured, became more fractured. And any time Europe showed that kind of weakness, one of the first things was you could count on historically was an invasion from the Muslims, right? And sure enough, they came in. And what happened is this: they took the island of, I'm going to say Crete, but I'm wrong. Where did they grow all the bread for the Roman Empire? Sicily. I don't know. Gosh darn my brain. They took a place. I can't tell you the name because it's very secret. It's just science. And as they took it, the Christians put up a fight, of course, but in the end said, we'll surrender if you promise, that you won't kill us or enslave us, that we'll be free. And so the Muslims agreed, and then killed everybody and enslaved over 20,000 people. They took the leaders, the generals, the people, well, frankly, they ripped them to pieces and put their mutilated bodies on the front of their ships. So when word hit mainland Europe that this Muslim army was coming and that there was really no stopping it, the Pope at the time began to do his best to get all the Christians on the same page. And he invited the leaders to join together and form what eventually became called the Holy League. And then he got the non-leaders to pray the rosary, pray that our Blessed Mother will deliver us. Okay? And this is, again, part of the thing I might get after someday in teaching you about the Crusades. Right, what you were probably taught was Christians bad, Muslims good, Christians invaded peaceful Muslim countries, and blah, blah, blah. None of that is true, okay? None of that's even, there's not a shred of history that supports that. Numerous times in European Christian history, the Muslims invaded, and the Christians had various levels of success at repelling those invasions. Well, this one was considered kind of the final showdown. Why? The Christians were wildly outnumbered. And you know what's interesting? This probably came from our Roman Empire roots. As smoking, incredible as the Roman army was, they were awful at seafaring. The Romans just never got into that. Well, this Ottoman army, navy, was vast and unstoppable. And today was the day where the Christian armies met them head on at Lepanto. It was a miracle. The Christians not only won, but won in such a way that the Muslims weren't really able to get it together and try again for quite some time. Less than 50 Christian ships were lost, and over half of the Ottoman fleet was obliterated. The second good that came of it was the 15,000 Christians who had been captured and were being held as slaves were liberated. And it's a great day. That's what we remember, okay? We remember this day where the Lord delivered Europe. It is not an exaggeration to say. We had a historian in Italy when we were touring Lepanto who pointed out, had the Christians lost that battle, we'd all be speaking Arabic. Truly. There was nothing to stop them. So how important is that battle? Well, when you go to Rome and get on the little subway system and you want to get to the Vatican City, just pick the exit called Lepanto. That's how big it is. So Today, that's what we celebrate, and we call it Our Lady of the Rosary. It used to be Our Lady of Victory. That's what we remember today, and it's groovy stuff. And again, you gotta remember, well, don't get into that. So keep that in mind, okay? So today, we're asked to pray a rosary and pray that God protect all Christians. And a side note, I know it's crazy. I know this isn't what you're taught. There's never been a time in human history where so many Christians have been killed for being Christian. So while we in America feel safe, oh, I see. Okay, it wasn't popping up. I was wondering why we didn't have that many people.
Everybody's saying they can't. I'm
Yeah.
getting texts. Yeah.
Sorry, everyone. Is it caught up now?
Well, it's there. It's just not popping up for people.
Oh.
So we're going to.
It's probably my devastating good looks.
Yeah,
I'm going to be
you're
totally
afraid.
honest with you. The money maker, it affects technology like it affects everything else. Like the other day, true story, I walked into a grocery store like this, but I had my cassock on. And a woman went, and I quote, "Wow." And I was like, I understand. I could tell by the look of disgust, right? And the, wow. That's a true story. Okay, so what are we going to do now? Now I'd like to talk to you about our meeting with the bishop last week as priests. We had a day, I can't remember, I want to say, yeah, oh, don't worry, we love squeakers. Yeah. Oh, we got a squeaker in the audience. And every time I say heresy, the baby cries. Did someone just ask if I was buying soap? That's so fascinating. I just got soap. I did. Hold on, look. I just got my newest order of soap. Oh. Doesn't that smell good?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So I did this thing, and I'm really not bright. I ordered soap on one of those things where it's like, well, we'll send you soap. I don't need this much soap. And I don't know what I was thinking. But anyway, I thought I saw the word soap, or maybe it's what I was thinking.
Soup.
Oh, soup. Yes, I just buy soup, unlike you married people. You said to get soup. Okay, so what was last week? Okay, guys. Now, here's the deal, right? While we are so blessed here at Holy Family, we are doing well. Let's people are going to church. We're doing good. This is not happening everywhere. That is a huge hornet. Here's what the stats look like. Okay, you may have heard this stat. This is a national statistic for the Catholic Church in the U.S. Ready? This will melt your brain. 4% of a Catholic Church's members, 4%, 1, 2, 3, 4, provide 80% of the church's finance. Okay? When you wonder, why do the Protestants have youth ministers and youth pastors? And we don't, because they give money. We just don't. Or we give very little in proportion to our income. Here's the thing, though, that makes that even, frankly, a little bit worse. You take that 4% and almost 90, well, it's 90-some% of them aren't going to live much longer, just to put it bluntly. Right? And in the end, what they're projecting is in the U.S. in the next, I think they was 2030. How far away is that? 10 years. The Catholic Church in the U.S. will, quote unquote, lose $5 billion a year of what they're used to collecting. Why? People under 50, as a general rule, just don't give that much. Okay? The people over 50, yeah, they give generously. They tend to tithe between 4 and 6% of their income. Okay? It's not really what's happening with the generations after them. Okay? It's just how it is. Okay? So the number of Catholics is growing. And every Catholic, kind of, in an okay way, don't hear the wrong word here, puts demands on the church, namely baptism, wedding, funeral, hatch, match, dispatch. Okay? Do they go to church? No. Do they give if they go to church? Not so much. Just being candid. And you take those competing realities, and what you find when you add it with how few people are becoming priests is you get more demand, less money, less help. That's just how it is. So if you look like right now, my assignment, and I'm the only priest, covers about 3,000 families and a school and a church being built and a church getting a new roof, right? So my brain is just constantly overloaded, okay? And that's just one tiny part of a priest's job. Well, all the priests are going through this. I think that's fair to say. That what they're finding, I remember they said this about 8 years ago, that priests have one of the highest job satisfactions, right? You talk to a priest, they're happy to be priests, but they also have the highest rate of burnout. It just can't keep it up. Okay? So what do we do then with a Catholic population that as a general rule has stopped going to church? With a Catholic population that genuinely stopped making priests? And yet has more demands on the structure than ever before? Well, it's time to get after it, right? That's the point. It's time for us to reimagine how we do things within the confines of our faith. Obviously, we're not just going to go out and follow secular business models. That's my trouble. I think I was just saying that to you with like, what are those? Amazing Parish and Divine Renovation. Being candid, my opinion, that's all this is. Those feel like how to make your church successful. I don't want a successful church. I want a faithful church. And I know that sounds funny, but if I set out over here at Holy Family to say, I'm going to get more people going to church, then I'm going to fall into a business model instead of a faith model. I really believe that, at least in my experience. My goal as a pastor is not to get our church more popular, okay? It's to be as faithful as I know how and let that attract who needs to be attracted. You know what I mean? It's a difference between evangelization and selling, in my opinion. So what we want to do as a church is look at how can we approach this equation in such a way as, frankly, to maximize our human power, both clergy and laity, maximize our reach, and get after all the people who've stopped going to church or who never have. How do we, where's Uncle Earl? It is important we take this opportunity to speak up. Ready? This is Uncle Earl, Bishop Earl. I know firsthand the sadness of family members drifting from the practice of the Catholic faith. Christ, too, weeps over every lost sheep. He wants us to find them, to bring them back to him, and to make disciples of all other people as well. And he wants us to do it now, right? I love our bishop. I do. Hence, we need to step up our prayer, increase our penance, and then act. And so what he's doing is calling for people like you to offer input when the opportunity comes as to how we can do this. All right? So far they did a detailed survey of over 21,000 lay people in our diocese. Okay? And what did they find? Ready? Here's some data. They found that when of the 21,000 practicing Catholics they interviewed, the priests are so consumed with day-to-day challenges of running a parish that they have little time or energy left for creative missionary work. Often priests describe feeling isolated and alone. Often they're being asked to pastor a flock without the resources needed for truly transformative evangelization. That's how I feel. Like that nailed it. I was surprised at how accurate that felt. What did they find with the staff, our parish staff? Parishes are generally understaffed, with only a few lay ministers who are overworked and underpaid. Hence, many important ministry areas do not have necessary leadership and funding to evangelize and catechize successfully. Am I talking too fast? I feel like I am. Okay. And again, I found that to be true, that when you look at staff, they don't have the support they need. And not only do they not have the support, the parish can't pay them more. right? I know at a school I worked at, it's not this one, okay? At a school I was assigned to as a priest, their starting salary for teachers, are you ready for this? $17,800. $17,800 for a full-time teacher.
Educated teacher.
For
Educated teacher.
Yeah, for an educated teacher. And you might say, well, gosh, that's criminal. Yes, it is. But if we raise tuition, nobody would come, right? Even second home people aren't really seem willing to do that. And you say, well, why? Because they haven't been evangelized. They haven't been discipled. They've had Christianity reduced to do this and don't do that. Okay. Right? But this is what happens when we, forgive me, okay? This is what happens when we as a church decided that the answer to the liberalization of theology was to simply bang out more rules, right? Rules can get obedient people, but they might not be disciples. They might be angry or fearful people, okay? What did they find out with the laity? That the laity expressed in the survey a huge desire to grow spiritually, but they don't feel like they're equipped spiritually or academically. And they don't feel like the parish is giving them the resources to be those things. So again, don't hear this and get discouraged. Okay, Jesus has dealt with much worse. Trust me, okay? Here's how desperate Jesus was. He let me be a priest. All right. So what do we want to do? We want to create a general vision of renewed parish life. Creating new parish structures where priests support one another, just for something new. Where multiple priests serve one parish together. So right now, what's the model? I cover 2 parishes by myself. Well, what if it was 3 priests covering 5 parishes? Right? You think, well, what's the difference? You're not alone. And I don't mean like alone by myself. But priesthood is a very unique life. And it's nice. Like, my best friend in the world is Jeff Rose. Okay? And he got ordained 6 years after I did, even though we're the same age. And that's because I'm holier.
I'm telling him.
Right. So a year after he got ordained, and this is crazy, but it might have been one of the most healing phone calls I ever got. And I mean this. He called me up and he says, the whole time you were a priest and I wasn't, we would talk and I thought, oh, I get it. He said, I had no idea. It is a constant weight that you can't put down, right? And you shouldn't put down. And to have a brother to carry it really makes a difference. Okay. Priests receive ongoing formation, mentoring, and coaching. Why? Guys, here's the key, okay? I'm going to be candid. I think I'm good at this. And you have been very affirming to me that I'm good at this. That doesn't mean I can run a parish. That doesn't mean I understand personnel. Like, you can't hire a person. Like, you think, you should just hire someone. Okay, all we need is $1 billion for insurance, a ton of money for their salary, and then I need to figure out how to make sure everybody works and plays well together with 9,000 rules, right? 9,000. This morning, remember this? We sat there for 45 minutes learning about insurance options so we can intelligently present them to our teachers. Here are your 4 options. What's the difference? Well, that one's got a different name. I spent 10 years learning how to be a priest. And I got degrees, in philosophy, history, and theology. I'm asked 1,000 questions a day. About 4 of them have to do with what I have my degrees in. Right? So we need training in these things. Okay? And also, I'm going to be candid. A priest is only as accountable as he chooses. And that, to me, is the biggest hole in the system. Right? I can absolutely ruin this parish, right? You could send me in to be pastor. I could bankrupt it, drive everybody away. And what's my punishment? Oh, bigger parish. That's how the system works. There's no delineation in the church between doing a good job and a bad job. It's just, you move up. It's kind of weird. It's almost like a government job, but with less money. We need formation. Because some priests are under the illusion that the day seminary ended, they're done growing. And they're clear on what they need to tell God's people, but they don't seem clear on what God's people can tell them. And it's a shame. It really is. We need help with this. We don't, my brother always points this out. You don't have a wife to smack you down. You know, and I don't think priests should marry. Oh my gosh, I think that'd be a disaster. But I get his point. As priests, we need to find the mentoring, the spiritual growth that can only happen in community, right? Yeah, it's going on and on. I don't know. Priests unified with and accountable to the bishop, right? Because make no mistake, some of those priests you get there standing up and yelling at you for not obeying the church, they don't obey their bishop, right? It's obedience for me, but not for thee, right? Obedience for thee, but not for me. How do you say it? We got a lot to work on as a church, right? And part of it is, and again, it's just my opinion, we are making great theologians, but I don't know how many saints we're making in seminary. Yeah. And the devil's theology is perfect. Never forget that. Good theology is important, but it needs to be a symptom, not the goal. The goal needs to be holiness. Holiness will get you to good theology. But when we just bang away at making good theologians, I don't know how successful we're going to be at making saints. These are my thoughts, and they really mean nothing. But so, Bishop Earl, and again, I know everyone wants a perfect bishop, and I'm sorry we don't have one. And I'm sorry, whatever diocese you're in, that yours isn't perfect. But I'll tell you what, our bishop is brave. And he and I have had some knockdown, drag-out fights, man. I don't always agree with him, but he is a good bishop. And all he wants to know is what's right and to help him do it. Okay? And you might have, well, leave it go. So he's putting together this committee. They're going to be coming to our parishes and gathering data from you to figure out how can we do this. And I'm so very excited. So please, if you're in the Diocese of Lansing, keep your eyes, ears, and heart open. And there will be, we were going to have town halls, but there was a thing, you guys, I don't know if you know this, it was called like COVID or something. It's kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal.
It canceled all the town halls, okay? Someone said something about Uncle Earl here, I think. Oh, wait, where are you, Cheryl? She's waiting to see who her next bishop's going to be. Are you in Michigan? If she's in Michigan, then it's Gaylord or Gaylord. Oh, I love you too, Ruth. I love all you guys. Thank you so much for watching. My gosh. Okay, so that's the thing about Uncle Earl. What do we got left? Oh my gosh, it's 12:30, guys. Okay, hang in there. For those of you who came in late because you're huge sinners. What?
Gaylord.
Gaylord, I know. Bless you. I know who I want them to get.
Are you going to tell us?
No. But because no one cares what I think. I could tell you who you should get, and no one will care. But there's a beautiful holy priest that I'm just waiting for them to stick a pointy hat on. And man, if you got him, you'd be the most blessed person in the world. Persons. Okay, so get comfortable. So next I want to quick tell you about the pilgrimage. Then we'll wrap up our discussion on heaven, and then we will get after the second coming of Christ. And I'm so excited about this. I suspect the second coming of Christ is going to be most of next week's show. Right, that I don't know how much we'll get to today. I do want to real quick tell you about the pilgrimage. So that meeting I just told you about, that was all day Thursday, right? Am I saying the right days?
Yes.
Okay. And then after that meeting, I got in a car and we drove to Wisconsin. John drove the whole stinking way. 7 hours. Seriously, it was brutal. It was fun. We talked baseball. Like when he got tired, I started, the man knows baseball. And I started throwing crazy stats. Like I says, okay, which 84 Tiger had the most at-bats in 84? Okay? And so we said somebody who had the second most. Trammell. Trammell had the second most. Do you remember who had the first most? It's your boyfriend.
Lance Parrish.
Lance Parrish. Lance Parrish had, I'm going to cough, the most at-bats for the Tigers in 84. I was throwing crazy stats at him, and he knew. And it kept him awake, and we didn't die. Then on Friday morning, we journeyed out. I walked to the grounds where our Blessed Mother appeared in Wisconsin. I went into the church. I took your prayers, the prayers of my family. It was so glorious. And they have this box, and you stick the petitions in, and then they go in the altar, and they're a part of every Mass for the next calendar year. How cool is that? I figure it's like a spiritual battery. We got to recharge it every year. So I'm hinting that I need to go back next year, just to be clear.
People have suggested a yearly trek.
Yeah. Guys, if you get a chance, you need to pilgrimage there. I'm not kidding. It was beautiful and life-giving and elevating and peaceful and yummy, chewy goodness. If you didn't see the show from Friday, please go back and watch it. I feel like we did a pretty good job. Yeah, okay. Well, gosh, that takes us through. That was a lot to cover, but I feel like it's stuff you need to know. And if you say, well, gosh darn, I'm not in the Lansing diocese. My bishop isn't doing anything like that. Well, you don't know what you don't know. I can't tell you. Boy, you know I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it, and some of you might get really upset with me, and I totally understand. Okay, but you're wrong. There is like Church Militant, there's just all these different organizations that have membership fees for the, and I feel like they are critical of our bishops in ways that I fear for their judgment, right? Because what Jesus said is the measure with which you measure others will be measured back to you. And I'm conscious of this, that the things we accuse other people of are usually the sins we wrestle with. Am I making sense? So if every time a bishop does something, I say it's about money, what you've just learned is that I'm obsessed with money. Right? If everything, the bishop did this, well, it's about money. Well, that means you're about money. It doesn't mean he is. That's a judgment. And that's a judgment on a successor of the apostle. And I think we should be careful. I do. Now, I get it. Trust me. From first-hand experience, I know what it is like when you discover that a bishop either didn't believe or didn't act appropriately about allegations of sexual misconduct on the part of a priest. Trust me, okay? I say that with a sword in my heart. But here's what I know. I'm going to judge people the way I want Jesus to judge me, with great mercy and with a belief that everyone is probably doing their best. And every day as a priest, in a good way and sometimes, frankly, a bad, everyone wants to tell me how to do my job. Very few people want to help me do it. And I can't imagine what it's like to be a bishop. When you take that reality and multiply it by hundreds of parishes. I can't imagine. Do you suppose we could shut that curtain?
Yes.
I'm sorry. It's reflecting off the phone and messing up my pretty face. Thank you. That's perfect. Now I look orange. Did I tell you about the orange hand? Okay. Someday I'll have to tell you about the orange hands at communion.
You can poke it and see if it changes.
You can poke it. Nothing happened. Okay. But the camera rocked. So if I do this, can you tell that the camera's rocking? Or am I achieving? Okay. When you have people whose sole money-making enterprise seems to be, I'm going to expose corruption in the church. Careful. Be real careful. And when you get a chance, go on to the scriptures and look at what Paul says the fruits of the Spirit are. And if you don't consistently experience those fruits by your interaction with the Catholic media, then it's not good for you. Nobody should be perpetually indignant, and I mean it. Jesus was alive that we know of on earth. His ministry on earth was 3 years. How many times did Jesus get indignant? Do you know this one, bro? I know. This is crazy. Do you know this?
5.
5? We have 5? Dan? Dad says 1. 2. Carrie?
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
Okay,
because
Carrie's drunk,
somebody else-
which makes me
But
indignant.
there's one of your people are trying to tell me that Lance Parrish is her boyfriend, and I have a little problem with that.
Okay, guys, I need to make a stand here. Lance Parrish is Carrie's boyfriend. And I don't know what he's been telling you when she's not around.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh, that's
interrupt
awesome.
you.
So how many times did Jesus get indignant? Did he get indignant when Peter denied him 3 times? No. Did he get indignant when everyone left him to die? No. Did he get indignant when they drove spikes through his arms and hung him on a cross? No. Did he get indignant when his own people handed him over to the occupational government? No. When did he get indignant? He got indignant when the children came running up to Jesus, right? And oh, Boogaloo, she's celebrating her little soul nose. Do you hear that little angel? He got indignant once. And it was when people stopped children from coming to him. I need us to think about that. And what's the time he got angry? He got angry when religious people used religion badly, when they used God's name in vain. So be careful of those who use God's name to make sure you are indignant, angry, and afraid, and clicking. Okay? Be very conscious of that. You might say, well, what about the truth? Hey, our choices are not constipation or diarrhea, right? Those aren't our choices. That I have to pretend everything's fine and nothing's going on, or that I need someone prying my eyes open to every bad thing written in the most salacious way possible. Somewhere between those is virtue. Okay? I think I'm going off. Shoot. I'm sorry. Why am I saying this? Oh, so if your bishop is not doing anything that you can tell right now, ask him. Don't accuse. Ask. I just gotta, I get emails, you know, and they're mad and I'm stupid or I'm bad or I'm not conservative enough or not liberal enough. Every week I get a, you're not doing enough about COVID and a, you're doing too much about COVID, right? I had all that. But very rarely do I get one where someone says, here's what I think. Is that right? Or I get, Father, what about, man, this was my mom's rule. Okay, and I love this. Ready? Ask, don't accuse. Don't accuse. Ask, don't accuse. This is what I think I see. Do I see it rightly? And if so, may I ask why? There you go. Right? Father, I believe you love Jesus. I think you might be wrong on this. Right? But instead of going after, right, that just happened to me on Facebook, like a bunch of people, just because Bishop Earl, this drove me nuts. I'm going to get killed for this. Bishop Earl put up a thing on Facebook, basically this, ready? Killing babies is bad. Okay? And I think we could all, as Catholics, go, yeah, killing babies is bad. But instead, well, I'm voting for Biden. Who? He just said killing babies was bad. That's literally, it's pro-life month. And it's been, this month has been Respect Life Month for, well, since 1978. Go Trump, go Biden. Killing babies is bad. We can all get on that page. We can argue politics later. But can we show the world that our loyalty to the unborn supersedes our politics? Just to be able to say, don't kill babies. Trump's not pro-life. Okay, don't kill babies. Children in cages. Yes, I'm horrified by that. Don't kill babies. We could do this all day. So when we approach leadership, let's show some respect. A bishop isn't just a boss. We believe they are a successor to the apostles. Can they sin? Yes. Can they be wicked? They can be among the most wicked people you will ever encounter. Trust me. But we begin with the assumption of holiness until we've been proven wrong. And then you protect yourself. Okay? Man, I went off. This is me going off. So if your bishop's not doing this and you want him to do something, pray. And if you want to write him, write a letter, ask, don't accuse. You don't know what you don't know. Some bishops have been handed an unspeakable mess. Unspeakable mess. And some bishops are making messes. Everyone thinks of it as a promotion. And I think that's the problem. You know what I mean? You're a good priest. You should be a bishop. Oh my God, no. Right? Keep a good priest in the fight. Put the bad priests in the bishops. That way they can leave everybody alone. Was that out loud? Like, you talk to Bishop Earl, you talk to Bishop Carl, and what do they both miss? God's people. Nobody just sits with them anymore. Everyone's trying to get something out of them, you know? Bishop Carl, I think an hour after became our bishop, he was like, I want to go back to the parish. You wanted the hat, big fella.
No, he didn't.
He really didn't. Oh, poor man. Neither did Bishop Earl. Anyway. Okay, so here we are. I'm so sorry that I went off and kind of the murmured. So what's our goal now? We're going to take the remaining 19 minutes and talk about heaven, and then, or depending on how long that takes, and then I'm going to get us to the second coming. That's what we're going to talk about next. Heaven, we're going to finish up, and then we're going to talk about the second coming of Jesus. And I know for a fact that's going to carry over to the next show. So, last time we talked about heaven, what we talked about was this idea of what it will be like, kind of. Okay? Mostly, it was kind of me taking this opportunity to remind us that hell's real. Right? And that the standard is not being nice. Okay? And people will tell you again, I hate this. Well, Jesus wasn't nice. Then they don't know Jesus. But Jesus was blunt. That's different. Did you hear that little angel? See, when I said Jesus' name, she got all googly. Hello, Boogly. Oh my gosh, I wish you could see this baby. I need to squeeze her. This child needs to be hugged by me. I had to see one of my students had a squeak, okay? And I had to see that squeak through a window, right? Because they're worried about the COVID. And they're in Wisconsin. They should be, right? Wisconsin's, the COVID thing is insane. I should get tested again, by the way, since we were there. Have you been tested for COVID? They shove a straw cleaner up your nose, a pipe cleaner, and they wiggle it around until brain matter seeps out. It's disgusting. And it's uncomfortable. But I do it for God's people. Okay, so last week I tried to take that opportunity to remind us, frankly, sorry, but hell's real. And the only way we can get to heaven is through the person of Jesus. It is only through Jesus that heaven is a possibility for you and me. And that in a nutshell, our faith is about holding on to Christ, to clinging to him while he drags us to heaven. You can't earn heaven. The only thing we can earn is hell. Okay. So, what will heaven be like? That's where we get in trouble. You may remember that I talked about all we've got is human words and concepts for something non-human, for lack of a better phrase. Something, we have linear time words. We have words like now, before, after. Those are all linear time words, okay? This is a non-linear existence. So we say different things to try to convey the reality that in heaven there will only be, in the words of Scripture, there will be no more weeping, no more cry, no more tears, no more sorrow. Did I tell them about the poems? I can't remember. Did I tell you about the poems?
Yes, but it's good.
It's good?
Yeah.
Okay, it's good. That's from a Jim Carrey movie.
But do it again.
And I don't even remember which one.
No, do it again. It's a good story.
Oh, do the palm thing. I think you want me to do the like that. Now I hate it, and I'm going to do it again. Okay. I'd apologize, but I lack contrition. So what's the palm thing? You may notice that when John saw visions of heaven, there were always a few things going on, right? Everybody was focused on God and praising him. And they were offering prayers for the people on earth, right? And then the other thing it always has them doing is waving palms. And what's that about? When Israel was reclaimed the Holy Land, in a sense, with Joshua, they had been living in the desert for a long time. And so this festival began that they do in Israel to this day that I know of, where they all get together and everyone holds palms and they're in a big group and it's quiet, and then they start shaking the palms. And as they do it, it sounds like rain. It's unreal, guys. I've been there, okay? And it's like to the point where the first thing you do, especially if you're from Michigan, because rain's cold, right? I found out people in Florida don't do this. Nope, there's no rain, but it just sounds like rain. And why? What are they celebrating? They're celebrating, you don't have to pray for rain anymore. There's water right over here. We don't have to pray and beg heaven for rain, and that's why they shake those palms. And that's the vision John had, as everyone in heaven is kind of celebrating. We don't have to ask for anything anymore. It's all here, right? Cool stuff. Heaven is the fulfillment of every hope. Heaven is the fulfillment of every holy dream. You will no longer be self-obsessed. You'll no longer have to fight that temptation to put ourselves into every equation. We'll be a part of perfect love pouring itself out. Oh, dude. That was the thing, like that little squeaker over there. Her soul's going to outlast the sun. It's going to outlast the galaxy. It's going to outlast time. So is yours. I can't do it. It's just, there won't be time. There will just be. We'll just be. And it'll be groovy. So, this is to help us contextualize our pain on earth. This is to help us contextualize everything we experience. Like I gave you the image of the baby, didn't I, last week in the womb? Did I give you that one? Like a little baby in the womb. Dr. Peter Kraft gave this to us. This idea that if a baby in the womb could talk to you and reason, it would be wondering why all of its energy was going into these things, right? Why are my eyes so important in this dark womb? Oh, well, in the next life, you'll need eyes. They're really important. Why is all my energy going into these sticks at the bottom of my body? In this womb, I don't need them. No, but when you're born, you'll need those legs. That so much of our pain and so much of what we experience on earth that we can't express is simply prep for our next birth. It's preparing us for heaven. There's this glorious moment where I get pain shots in my knee, and for about 2 weeks, my knee doesn't hurt all the time. Right, and it's heaven. I mean, it's heaven. And I know that's stupid. It's just knee pain. But so then when that starts to wear off, I'm so grateful for those 2 weeks. Like the first few days after I get the injection, I'm ecstatic. I'm almost high. I'm so happy. It just, this constant throb, right? And then you get used to the no throb, and you forget about it. And then it starts to hurt again, and you're like, oh. In heaven, I assume so much of our pain is swallowed up in that. It doesn't hurt anymore. It doesn't. What's it? All of it. What about if we're in heaven and people we love on earth are suffering? Doesn't that kill us? No, all pain will be contextualized there. We'll see the big picture, right? You don't want a kid to wipe out on his bike when he's learning to ride one, but he kind of has to. I do think we're losing some of that in our culture. We forgot the value of pain, and so we try to keep our kids from all of it. It's like, no, you got to have pain. It's the only way to grow that I know of. You got to have pain. But anyway, so that's what we're gunning for. How do we get there? Only through Jesus, only through a connection to Christ, that where our attempts at holiness are a response, not an attempt to elicit. Okay, what do I mean by that? it's simple to express, I think. See what you think it is. If I do something so that I'll go to heaven, it's not going to work. If I do something because I am going to heaven, it will. Right? You can't earn heaven. But people on their way to heaven act a certain way. And so that's what you want to be conscious of. When you go to make decisions, if you're a mom or a dad about your kid, right? Like they were talking about this. What does every parish say to their priest? You need a youth group. But then when you say to that parent, your kid's not going, well, he's got baseball and soccer and swimming and hockey. And, well, you made your decision then. We don't need a youth minister. You've got one. They're just not going to help him get to heaven. Yikes. Sorry. I love you. So, with that, what do you say we get to the end of the world? Yeah? I would love the end of the world. Oh my gosh. Like, wouldn't it be awesome if I didn't get to finish? Like, if that trumpet sounds, I'm like, peace, kids. So, what do you say? I forgot to type this. Hold on. Okay, so what we'll do is start with, what do we got? We got about 9 minutes. 9? That's how you say it in German. It means no. We've got no minutes left. That works. Think about it. How are people doing, by the way? Are people happy? I can't tell. I can't, like, every once in a while I can read a word.
They're good.
Okay. Linda. I see the word Linda. Okay, we need caffeine. Hold on. You want to know what? You know what I'm doing next? Immediately after this, I'm going into the 8th grade classroom. Those poor kids. I'm like, we're talking about hell. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, that was my Harrison Ford. Get off my plane. All right. That was pretty good, wasn't it? Do you know, seriously, this is crazy. I had a guy tell me this. He worked in Hollywood. He got fired. He was saying that Sean Connery, if you're in a movie with Sean Connery, it's literally in the contract you can't do a Sean Connery impersonation.
He's so over it.
Apparently, he's like totally over it. Isn't that awesome?
Yes.
The Hunt for Red October. All right, so what are we talking about? The second coming of Jesus. Yes. It'll be tomorrow about 4. You should probably pack, and some of you should pack sunscreen. I'm just kidding. All right, here's the first thing that American Catholics need to know. I don't know. I know there's some non-American Catholics, and you might think, well, I need to know that, but I don't know if it's an issue in your country. But American Catholicism gets really mixed up with Protestantism sometimes. We pick up some of their ideas, which of course is lovely. Oh my gosh. But sometimes it doesn't line up with us at all. And one of them is about the second coming. Okay. Here's what you need to know. Is that I have to go off. And what may be the craziest statement, and I literally mean this in the Bible, you could argue intelligently that this is the weirdest thing Jesus ever said. Okay? When people asked Jesus when the second coming was happening, he got to say for the first time and perhaps only time in his eternal existence, I don't know. Think about that. God said, quote, I don't know. I wonder if like he practiced. You know what I mean? Because he only gets to say it once in his whole life. Like if you said to Jesus, any question, he knows. But in this one, when they asked him about the end of the world, he said, I don't know. Only the Father in heaven knows. And he'll tell me someday, in a sense. He said, of course, better than that. He's the Son of God. God. So if Jesus, and he tells you, people will say, it's coming, don't follow them. Right? So that's the first thing I want to tell you. Is anybody who wants to waste your time telling you when the world's going to end, they are not to be listened to. And that's not my opinion. That's what Jesus said, and he's kind of in charge. Keep that in mind, because for all of Christianity, people have used that fear to get things from God's people. Okay? Don't do it. Don't do it. I think even the Seventh-day Adventists were literally founded off of the idea that the world was ending in 1900. Right? Because for some reason, we think God likes big round numbers. It cracks me out. We take a creature not in linear time, and we go, oh, year 2000. Why? It's a big round number. Remember that? Yeah, we're around. Isn't that weird that we ascribe that to a non-linear creature? Like he's going, oh crap, it's a big round number, let's do it. I don't think he says crap. So that's something you need to know. It's not our business. The best way I can think to tell it is I heard a story about a saint who was out working in his garden when a young novice ran up to him and said, oh my gosh, what would you do if I told you that I knew for a fact Jesus was returning this evening? And he said, quote, well, I'd finish this row. That's what I'd do. Well, don't you want to be ready? I'm ready every day. That's what we need. You and I need to be so invested in the eternal that this is ancillary. That's what we keep messing up with this sport worship with our kids. That's what we keep messing up with this political fixation in our country. We keep pretending everything is about here and now. Okay? No, everything's about then. We immerse ourselves in this world to find joy and to bring joy, but we certainly don't pretend this is defining of anything except where will I go eternally. That's a big deal, guys. I want to remember that. When we talk about when, we can't know and we shouldn't try. God overtly condemns fortune telling, future telling. It's trespassing. That's the way I always explained it to my students. Just think of this. The future is God's territory, and he's got a big old no trespassing sign. The only thing you and I need to know about the future is he's already there. Chill out. Okay, chill out. So don't waste your time or energy on anybody who wants to pretend they can tell you when the world's going to end. Don't buy their books. Don't listen to their talks. Don't put any energy into it. One of the big ones right now I've been getting a lot of questions on, and I hadn't even heard of this since the 70s. Like in the 70s, this was a big deal, the 3 days of darkness, right? The 3 days of darkness. And it was this prophecy about 3 days before the end of the world when it was there will be 3 days of darkness and there'll be blah, blah, blah. That was big in the 70s and it disappeared and now it's back. But know this, that's been condemned by the church. Okay, if you look up the roots of that prophecy, it was written by a French nationalist. Oh, I've talked about this because I made fun of the idea of French nationalism, which I assume French nationalism is intimately tied with cheese and surrendering to the Germans. That's my theory, right? If any of our friends from Europe are watching, allow me to apologize. I don't mean it, but I know I should apologize. French nationalism, we need that on a shirt. I suspect French nationalism is tied to cheese and surrendering to the Germans. They're good at both of those things. They also seem to have lovely music. And French sounds nice. It does. It sounds nice. Okay. Uh-oh, did I see Uncle Lonnie? Hold on.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. Lonnie has French DNA somewhere in there. Oh my gosh. I have a lot of jokes. So, okay. What were we talking about? Okay, here's the other thing about, do I have time? Oh, I don't. I have 2 minutes. Okay, so here's what we'll do next, okay? I'm going to mark where we are, okay? Hold on. So what hopefully we've hit, and I'll probably hit it again, as long as hold on. That's my boy from England, isn't it? Yep. Yeah, I've spoken like a true Englishman right there. Or a resident of the UK. I don't know if you're technically English, but I know you're in the UK. Yeah. So, okay, I feel like I was really serious, but also kind of goofy today, and I'm not sorry, but I'm sorry. And next week, when we get together, what we'll talk about is the second coming of Jesus. The church walks us through exactly how she believes the end of the world will come. And it's fascinating. It's right in the catechism. And I can't wait to walk through that with you. I really can't. It's kind of cool stuff. And so for tomorrow, let's get to tomorrow because I want to tell you about it again because a lot of y'all weren't here at the beginning, right? But tomorrow, we will be blessed to be joined by Ann Keita, who is the Director of Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Services at the YMCA here in Flint. She does.
YWCA.
I said M, didn't I?
Yeah,
I always
okay.
do that.
That's all right.
YWCA. And honestly, I think we got a lot we could learn. I do. And part of what I intend on asking her is how we can help when we find someone in that spot. You know, praise God for her. And she is a lovely woman in every sense of that word. Just an extraordinary human who is out there. See, I'm going to get gooey.
She's wonderful.
She's going to the dark places, guys. There's a whole ton of laity and some priests that you don't even know about as Catholics, and rightly so. They don't want glory. They don't want fame. They go to dark places for us. Anne goes to dark places and brings Jesus with her. And I think that's smoking. I do. So that's tomorrow at noon. And then on Friday, I'll be doing the On the Go with Father Joe live at the Elga Credit Union. And I have a lot of jokes about alone, right? Like I've been working on them in my head, you know, about I'm going to be there alone. Like, not alone, but like alone. If that piques your interest, I would be indebted to you.
It'll be in the
Oh
vault.
my gosh. Yeah, so let's just put these puns in the vault, huh? Let's do it. And if you see someone who wants to hear these jokes, please don't tell her. Get it? Okay, so I'll wrap us up. And tomorrow we're going to have a great show. Friday we're going to have a great show. And next Wednesday, I'm already excited about next Wednesday. I'm telling the truth. I am. I'm kind of geeked out because we got a lot of really good stuff on the second coming of Jesus. So just pray. Oh my gosh. Hold on. Did someone say I wouldn't bank on? Oh my Lord. You people with your bad puns. I don't do that to you. Oh wait, yeah, I do.
No, you do.
Okay, my bad.
Can you say happy birthday to Ann that you met last week in Wisconsin?
Anne's birthday is
No, today. Ann.
Okay, so when I was in Wisconsin, I met a wonderful woman named Anne, who's friends with someone who works on the show, who shall not be named, but it's Gary. And it was such an extraordinary and generous woman. I got beer from her, too. Yeah, I came back with a lot of beer. And can I tell about her dad?
Yeah.
Her dad,
Her father-in-law.
father-in-law,
Yes.
was the oldest beer salesman in the NFL. Sold beer at Lambeau Field. Man, can you tell it's one? Oh, I'm supposed to be in the 8th grade. Okay, I gotta pray. And happy birthday. I love you. Carrie loves you. Most important, Jesus loves you. And I will send you a birthday card. Not at all. But I want you to pretend I sent you a birthday card. I'm just not thoughtful enough. Plus, it'd be late. Like, I'd have to go buy a belated birthday card the day of the birthday. That's really belated. Is she like... Yeah, wrap it up. Ready to pray? I'm sure they're ready to pray for Jesus to deliver you from me. All right, and we've lost 10 people since I started making bank jokes. That is fantastic. I have never respected you more. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Oh, Jesus, the future of our church is in your hands, and that's the best hands. Really. We don't need to save anything. We need to serve everything. And so what we ask now is for the grace to do so. What we ask for now is all the light and love that we need to be the people you've called us to be. And hear us, Lord, as we tell you we want to go to heaven. Help us get there and to trust you to get us there. And for all the people and circumstances in our life that we worry about or fret about, we give them to you, and we love you so very much, and we trust you. Even when we're afraid, Lord, we trust you. Help us to trust more. And may Almighty God bless all of you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Can't wait to see you tomorrow when we talk to Ann Kita, superstar action figure, counseling degree sold separately.